I praised God, the wellspring of life.
Good morning, everybody. This is part of the Church at Ocean Park Choir, and that was a song from Taizé, a French community in France that sings in all kinds of languages. They sing religious songs. Welcome. There's Janet.
Good morning. My name is Janet Gollery McKithen. I'm the minister here at the Church in Ocean Park. And I want to let you know that you're welcome here. Come on in, everyone. Yay, Blaze Jr. is here. Yay. Yeah. Come on in, everyone. You might be wondering, you walk up the stairs and you see this and you hear that music. You might be wondering, am I really welcome here? What kind of place is this anyway? We are a multi-religious community dedicated to social justice. We are Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, Ifa, Wiccan, atheist, agnostic, and some other things. If I've not mentioned what you are, could you shout it out? If you're agnostic, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, anything else? Atheist, what else? All right, what else? That was a mouthful. Okay, so anything that, a lot of people don't want to be categorized as well. So welcome. You are welcome here. You're welcome if you're single, married, divorced, widowed, gay, transgender, non-binary, or queer. You're welcome if you have abundant resources and can help people out, or if each day is financially stressful for you. We welcome people who are fidgety, very focused, just woke up or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope, or if you haven't been to your mosque since before the pandemic, and you're having trouble fasting. You were having trouble fasting during the season of Ramadan. We welcome soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegans, junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or those who are still addicted. We welcome those who like organized religion and those who are repelled by it. We especially welcome you if you've been hurt by an organized religion and are here very cautiously. We hope we can be a place of healing and hope for you. We welcome you if you're having problems or if you woke up on the wings of eagles or a little bit of both. We welcome you no matter your ability or where you were born or what papers you might or might not have. You don't need to prove anything in this place. You're welcome here. We want to acknowledge that we are currently sitting on stolen land. Santa Monica, this land was taken violently from the Chumash, the Quiche, and the Tongva peoples. We acknowledge the harms of genocide, forced assimilation, enslavement, and destruction at the hands of U.S. settler colonialism. We also acknowledge that our communities and country was built on the backs of people who were stolen from Africa, placed into bondage, and then forced into labor. We acknowledge that we benefit from that labor that has never been repaid. In our acknowledgement, let us commit ourselves to healing by helping to create a more just and equitable world through the struggle of changing how we do things that we see as normal, but are actually systemically hurting people. We have a lot of things on our minds this morning. A lot of things are going on. Every single week seems to be more and more stuff happening. I think we need to take a deep breath and be here now. So we start with a chant by Thich Nhat Hanh. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now, 3 times. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in want to let you know something that's very important in this church, and that is that every person here has a voice. And so whatever's said here is that person's opinion and that person's what they believe, even me. So if you disagree with what I'm saying, that's fine. Your voice is just as important as mine, whoever is speaking. And so if you hear something that you disagree with, know that that is that person's opinion. They are a part of the church in Ocean Park, just as much as you. If you walked in here, this is your first time, you're already part of the church. We're sorry. We already claim you. Nothing you can do about it. So you are already a part of the church in Ocean Park. You already have a voice. Whatever you say is just as important as whatever someone said. It doesn't matter how long they've been here. That person's been here since the day they were born. It's okay. Your voice is just as important, okay? Because we often say things that we disagree with one another about. The only person who speaks for the church in Ocean Park is the administrative board, and that's after a lot of deliberation sometimes. So, welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Oh, it's them.
Oh, our next song is going to be by Magpie and Dr. Kim, and they are on Zoom. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So let's give a little background on this song. Because, but some folks don't know you. Some folks don't know you. These are my next door neighbors up here in New York State. Terry, and Greg Artsner. And we usually have them every year around Earth Day. But we missed that this time, so I'm glad that we can all be together today. So, what's the song we're going to do right now?
So, we're going to sing a song written by Phil Oakes. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with the songs of Phil Oakes, perhaps with the life and career. This is a song that he wrote in, I guess, his canon of songs of the Civil Rights Movement. And he wrote several of the great songs of the Civil Rights Movement. This is one that he never commercially recorded, but turned up on a tape that Sonny had, his sister Sonny had.
Yes,
And we learned it together, the four of us, actually, with Reggie. We sang it, and we still sing it.
It's called How Long Can We Go On? How long can we go on? How long can we go on? This troubled life may never last. There is no future if we forget the past. How far, how far have we gone? How far have we gone? So many struggles, we have lost. So many people on the cross. Why the fear of the coming of the morning? Why the trembling at the call? Can we see the final warning? Can we hear the writing on the wall? So many years before the dawn, so many years before the dawn, so many children have never grown, so many seeds of hatred and sorrow, so many red of the morning, while the trembling at the call. Can we see the final warning? Can we see the writing on the wall? How long can we go on? How long can we go on? This troubled life may never last. There is no future if we forget the past.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful. This morning we get to hear from our friend who's come back again, Rick Chertoff. He has been here with us before. We have an Israeli-Palestine task force, and they created an event one afternoon where, with Rick and others, and myself included. And also about a year ago, we were in touch about some of the Voice for Peace activists were here after they were arrested at UCLA encampment, and they came here for Shabbat. And so they have a little ceremony here. Rick was born in Los Angeles. He spent his life as a committed activist, educator, and activist for peace and justice. After early travels through Europe and the Middle East, he studied Middle Eastern and Hispanic history, languages, and became a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War. At LA Valley College, he was active in Students for a Democratic Society, co-founded the Jewish radical community, and later organized anti-war efforts at UCLA Hillel. As executive director of the Jewish Labor Committee, he represented the Jewish community to organize labor and help lead interfaith support for workers' rights. He served on the board of Holocaust Education Initiatives, was a founding board member of LA Jews for Peace in response to the 2006 Israeli invasion of Lebanon. He also co-founded the local chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace and has taught on the Israel-Palestine conflict at UCLA, bringing together diverse voices. Rick has shared his insights through media appearances on CNN, KPFK, and in the LA Progressive. Welcome, Rick. Welcome back.
Thank you, Janet. I'm so glad to be here, and I am so grateful for this congregation. When we did the Palestine-Israel teach-in last year, it was a phenomenal feeling of not only welcome, but a search for a truer understanding of what's happening, what was happening then and has been happening since then in terms of a full-blown, well-documented genocide against the people of Gaza. I thought it was pretty successful. We had an Israeli speaker who, professor at USC, who happened to have been the son of a former defense minister of the state of Israel, Yigal Aarons. We had a historian, Mahmoud Ibrahim, of immense learning, who was head of the history department at Cal State Pomona, and two other Palestinian speakers, one who's a friend of ours, who testified to what it's like being a Palestinian, in that case a citizen of Israel, and another person, Alam Muqtasa, who gave absolutely smashing, just amazing discourse analysis on the distortions of American media on this subject. And by the way, just one little tiny detail. I was a co-founding board member of Jewish Voice for Peace here in LA. And Jeff Cooper and I had a lot of very interesting experiences with Jewish Voice for Peace. Anyway, I don't want to spend much time on my background, but I'll say one thing. Growing up, as I did in Sherman Oaks, my parents were from Detroit. My grandparents were from Poland and Lithuania. And thinking about what I was going to talk to you all about and how to introduce myself, I thought it would be significant to say one really important aspect of my family home in Sherman Oaks, which was an acute awareness of what it's like to be part of a despised people. I only had a very gentle, by comparison, mild taste of anti-Jewish violence. It's really almost not worth mentioning. But the home had a feeling that when it looked out across other people, it recognized what it's like when you'd see someone. Even if there were, for example, in later years, you learn history. We all learn history bit by bit. Talking to somebody who's of Irish descent or Italian descent or, anyone from anywhere just about has been on the wrong side of history at one point or another and has deep wounds because of these kind of conflicts, which are never in the best interest of most of the people. But what I'd like to try and accomplish today in very limited time is to put a few things on the table that are, I think, usually missed. It might be a good idea to go through the data about this genocide, to talk about how 2 million people in a space half the size of the San Fernando Valley, 147 square miles, have been subject to over 100,000 tons of explosives, which, Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, comes up to around 6 Hiroshima bombs, give or take, in an area half the size of the San Fernando Valley with 4 times the density of population, that is just unprecedented in recent history. What are some of the things behind that? I'm going to make a few suggestions, and you may find them incendiary, outlandish, or what the hell is he talking about? But I have to look at my responsibility to you and not just repeat what you can easily find elsewhere, which I think the data right now... One other. I'm sorry. My phone's going off someplace. Right in front of me, wouldn't you know? Yeah, thank you. That's a very, very good suggestion. So I'm going to put a few things out there, and I hope they stimulate conversation. But that's kind of my intention, is to really look at the context, because what mass media, what corporate media does, is truncates history. They also, October 7th has been repeated more times than any phrase in the English language. Rosie, I'll have to call you back. So let's look beneath the surface at some of these things. First of all, how ironic we are back in counterinsurgency, because that's what this genocide is. And the simple nature of counterinsurgency is that there has been repression. Without repression, there's no resistance. Without the 1948 expulsion of 3/4 of the Palestinian population from Palestine, there's no Hamas. Without pushing people through force of arms into the largest concentration camp in the world, which has been Gaza for the last 70 plus years, there's no Hamas. If it was not for Israeli apartheid, another word for segregation, and the Palestinian population and the Jewish population were integrated, there's no Hamas. So what caused October 7th? 75 years of oppression, 17 years of a strict blockade where 2 million people could not leave, could not get enough food, clean water, et cetera, et cetera. That's what caused October 7th. Is it justifying the murder of innocent people, including Jewish Israelis? No, it is not justifying anybody's murder. Neither does those murders justify a genocide. I think we all probably agree on that. So let's look a little further under the surface. I want to read you what Gidon Levy is a very famous journalist in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, and a very brave one of the few. What he said, I think it was day before yesterday, since October the 7th, we have committed 1,000 October the 7ths. This is in Hebrew, by the way. I don't know if he still has an armed guard. He used to. But he is both reviled and respected. We've committed 1,000 October the 7th, and these have not managed to touch the hearts of Israelis. The traitorous media, he's talking about Israeli media, but we could be talking about American media, helps people avoid seeing the horrors. Isn't that what American media does too? But even without the media, one can know that a horrific disaster is taking place there due to our handiwork. Protests against this are not heard here, meaning Israel. The causes for this are numerous, but there is no justification for it. It's obvious that people care more about their own, and every nation looks after its own people first. But this, to what extent? When I recently showed a horrific video from Gaza to a relative a few days ago, she asked me mechanically, "Are you sure it wasn't faked?" Nothing will crack the protective wall Israelis have built around themselves. Nothing in Gaza evokes any guilt. We don't even have the kind of protest that rocked the United States for years, the one against the Vietnam War. There is no Eugene McCarthy running on an anti-war platform. That's what they're not dealing with. By the way, I didn't mention I have a brother and nieces and nephews in Israel. And feel free to ask me questions about that if you want later in terms of their perspectives and their experience. But I think he sums it up well, that there's such a wall of denial. In fact, I think without exaggeration, I would say there is a genocidal fever that has swept the Israeli public. The Israeli public is in the midst of a genocidal fever. And if we want some elaboration, I think I can give you some data on that in terms of polls later, if you want to ask about it. So our response, being the people whose tax money is paying for the bombs that are killing these people, is paying for the whole Israeli military's ability to starve 2 million people to death as we speak. And as we speak, that violates American laws. Not only Leahy law, there are others, but that's what's happening as we speak. I think we can be sure that children are dying from starvation as we speak, that hundreds, probably thousands of the Israeli-kept Palestinian prisoners are being tortured. So, talking about anti-Semitism really doesn't cut it. I think it is on a daily and weekly basis, obviously less a legitimate thing to say about anything that's going on in this country. What's going on in this country we could discuss in terms of dictatorial, shift in the nature of American governance. But I want to not get focused on that. I think what we have to recognize is that we're up against, in terms of the Israel lobby in this country and in terms of the Democratic and Republican parties, we're up against a Zionism. And that is a racist ideology. And it is based on conflating Jewish people with Israel. They're not the same. One's a political thing. The other is an ethnic/religious entity. They're not the same thing. And you could see, and I assume people in this room know very well, that one of the largest and most important social movements in American history was the encampment movement, that's really still ongoing in one form or the other, that was begun partly and importantly by Palestinian and Jewish students allying with each other and creating a resistance to this genocide. And their radical request was a ceasefire. But it has been conflated into it's anti-Hamas and so forth, which is all an absurdity. And a way of decontextualizing current events and the history. A quick digression, but a relevant one. I forced myself to listen to an interview with David Axelrod, the great Obama spin master. I do find him an attractive personality. But then I found Villaraigosa attractive, and we could name a lot of other people, Bill Clinton and so forth. But I forced myself to listen to his explanation for the defeat of, what was her name? Kamala Harris. It was pathetic. In an hour interview, he never mentioned the word Israel, Gaza, or Palestine, which is par for the course. Cory Booker spoke for 26 hours in the middle of a genocide and could not bring himself to even make an excuse for it. He couldn't make even a mention of 50,000 people being killed under the watch of a Democratic president who rationalized and so forth. What kind of a resistance to Trump is that? I think we have to really look into that. Well, I'll give you, and here comes the first of what might become, you might consider or not, an incendiary question. Why would the Democratic Party be willing to lose an election by letting Israel openly commit genocide? Why? It's not like they didn't know that 70% of their constituency and 50% of Republicans were for a ceasefire, which under Biden, he vetoed in the United Nations several times, did not want to give his voters what they wanted. Okay, was there going to be a consequence for that? Did any of these huge brains, like Carville and Axelrod, did they ever figure out that might cost them? Well, if you recall, in Michigan, 100,000 people signed something that said, I'm not going to vote if you continue this. Kamala Harris didn't even show up in Dearborn, Michigan. I mean, she could have come and made excuses. There was a poll called the Stun Poll, which found out 19 million Biden voters, people who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, 19 million did not vote in 2024. The reasons given, the number one reason given by those people for not voting was, anybody want to guess in one word? Gaza, Palestine. Well, if you do the math, 29% of 19 million equals 5.5 million votes. Trump won by 2.5 million votes. So even margin of error, maybe there's other things involved. That could have cost the Democrats the election. Was it because of the Israel lobby giving, I think it was $118 million to punish anybody who might breathe a word of the word Palestine? Well, I'm sure that's part of it. It's a very, very powerful lobby. But what else gives that lobby and that kind of mindset, quote, ironclad support for Israel, close quote, Joe Biden and pretty much Kamala Harris? What is involved there? Well, I want to give you a slightly different explanation. Has anybody heard of full spectrum dominance? The fact that we don't know it very well tells a lot, because it's the official military doctrine of the United States of America. Full spectrum dominance. That means we rule everywhere. We do not broach competition when it comes to military power anywhere in the world. Well, how does that relate to Israel? I'm going to tell you a different explanation for American ironclad support of Israel, maybe than you've ever heard. I haven't heard it before, but my wife Dina and I were traveling in Europe last year, so I tried to get things condensed so I could say them in Spanish easily, or whatever, Italian, what have you. So here is an explanation in 8 words for ironclad support of Israel. Suez Canal, Persian Gulf oil, U.S. hegemony. Make it global hegemony, and you got 8 words. Why? Going to take us back a space. The Balfour Declaration, 1916. His Majesty's government is giving away Palestine to the Jews that don't live there. They live in Europe. But that's what we're going to do. Why? Because we want to establish just what we established in Ireland, which is a colonial settler state. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to stick some people in there, but parenthetically, that we do not want in England. Because Lord Balfour sponsored legislation to keep the Jews out in 1915, the year before the Balfour Declaration. Keep them out. Put them over there. Why? Just like putting Scots and Welsh Protestants and English Protestants in to occupy Ireland in 1609 in the next 200 years, they used them because they would not convert and go native. They would not marry Catholics. You've got a permanent foreign element that is completely in your pocket. They're always going to do what you tell them to do because they're dependent on you for the arms to defend the land they just stole. Jews, ergo Jews in Palestine. And that's how the exercise of full spectrum dominance by the American military-industrial complex works. So that's called the Ulster Plantation, by the way, in Ireland. And I'm just starting to learn about it. And it's a template for Israel as a colonial settler state. There's one most troubling characteristic of colonial settler states. Genocide is intrinsic, says Patrick Wolfe, to colonial settler states. It was here. It was in Australia. South Africa, they used the workers. They didn't try and eliminate them. That's an exception. Israel, I think it's a built-in model. So that's what we're up against. And that's what's behind putting 2 million people, 2.2 million people into a concentration camp and throwing away the key for 17 years. And yet letting enough money go in so that they can build pre-World War II rockets to keep, them being the whipping boy until they got out of hand. I'm going to totally flip directions to not take up much more time. I would say that as a resistance movement, I'll include anybody that wants to be included in this room, the campuses writ large. I'd say moving the Democratic Party away from support for Israeli apartheid is the highest priority, because it'll also restore the viability, or could, with some other things, restore a viability to the Democratic Party, which has no viability at the moment. It's prone. It's completely run out of gas because it has no moral basis whatsoever. It's one thing to say we embrace part of the New Deal, but we're going to slice parts of it off this year and 4 years later, but there's nothing left. You can't run a People's Party without a moral base, and that morality cannot be genocidal in the Democratic Party. Maybe in the Republican Party, yeah, maybe. But the Democrats will always be second fiddle Zionists. Why? Because the evangelicals are the biggest population of Zionists in the United States, not the Jews. They outnumber the Jews, as you well know. Is that an impossible thing, to transform the Democratic Party? I can't say it's possible. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. If you have another way to go, and you think there's something else to be done instead of transforming the Democratic Party, let's talk about it. I'm all ears. But I will tell you there's an encouraging thing. There was also a Pew poll in the last 2 months or so that said something astounding. There has been a sea change in American public opinion across both parties in negative views of Israel. 10 to 20 point change in a year, in a couple months, a year and change. That's almost unprecedented. I think it happened right about 68 or 69 in the Vietnam War. It has happened before. What are we going to do with that? That is a resource that's just lying out there, and Bernie Sanders is trying to do something about it. He may have made he's doing something about it in the Senate, and he's got more people in the Senate than ever before. It's still a small number. I think it's 14 senators signed on to his bill to stop shipping weapons to Israel. But they got it on the floor. They discussed it. They've had debates on it, and their numbers are growing. I don't know about Congress, how much it's growing or not, but the point is the American people do not like what's going on. The only segment of that, when they break down the demographics, the only segment of people in the United States that did not change their mind on Israel are older white people. Why? Well, they're Fox News watchers. But everybody else, including, I don't remember the exact ages, 40 to 60 Republicans, 40 to 60-year-old Republicans. The young people in this country, before 2023, 25% of Jewish people had a 25% agreement with the statement that Israel is committing genocide. So it's moving, and it's moving in our direction. Question is, what are we going to do about it? I'll add one quick final note from my brother in Israel who I talk to pretty regularly. But you can see it from other data. You can see it from all kinds of news sources. Israel is falling apart. The smart people are leaving or have left. The money is leaving. There are no more high-tech startups. Their Moody's rating is down, and people are pissed off 16 ways against each other. Elon Poppy says this is the last phase of Zionism. So there is some silver lining on a very dark picture. Thank you for your patience, and look forward to discussing this with you. And, I got to say one other thing. In case anybody here doesn't know, this congregation undertook in a committee, correct me if I'm wrong, the reading of a fundamentally one of the most important books in the English language called The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. 23 pages of footnotes, okay? A serious piece of work by Elon Poppy, one of the greatest historians of Israel. The Ethnic Cleansing of I can't do it here, but I'll give you the 5 bows. Okay, I'll hit my head, but I really can't tell you how encouraging it is to have that consciousness come from this place. If that was duplicated in every congregation of every religion in the United States, we wouldn't be sitting where we are, sponsoring a genocide. So thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Has anybody here heard of Steve Earle, a singer? Okay, yeah, he's pretty popular. He wrote a song called Jerusalem, and I like to sing it. I woke up this morning, none of the news was good. Death machines were rumbling across the ground where Jesus stood. And the man on my TV told me it always had been that way, and there was nothing anyone could do or say. And I almost listened to him. Yeah, I almost lost my mind, and I regained my senses again. And I looked into my heart to find that I believe that one fine day all the children of Abraham will lay down their swords in Jerusalem. Well, maybe I'm only dreaming, and maybe I'm just a fool, but I don't remember learning how to hate in Sunday school. Somewhere along the way I strayed, I never looked back, but I still find some comfort now and then. Then the storm comes rumbling in, and I can't lay me down, and the drums are drumming again, and I can't stand the sound. But I believe there'll come a day when the lion and the lamb will lay down in peace together in Jerusalem. There'll be no barricades then. There'll be no wires or walls, and we can wash all this blood from our hands and all this hatred from our souls. And I believe in one fine day that the children of Abraham will lay down their swords forever in Jerusalem. And I believe that one fine day the children of Abraham will lay down their swords forever in Jerusalem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is this on? Okay, and I'm going to need some hand mics. They're on the dealer. Okay, great. All right. This is a time for community sharing, but before we start, some of you might be wondering what you can do, and so there are a couple people here going to have some ideas of some actions you can take, just real briefly before community sharing. And this time, we're going to change it up a little, and we're going to start with the people on Zoom after we have an announcement. So come on up and share your. Oh, here you go. You can do it from there.
It's too much for me to try to get up. Okay. So there are 6 of us with the group that was started over a year ago called Justice for Palestine. And it's not too late to get involved. There are millions of people around the world who are protesting what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. And we're doing the same. Now, we've been demonstrating for over a year. At farmers markets, we distribute literature, we have banners, we do a banner drop over the 405 freeway. We go to various places and talk to people and hand out literature. And we've also participated in demonstrations at the federal building with other groups. So we're very, very active. Now, what do demonstrations and vigils have to do with this? Do they change anything? Well, the fact of the matter is that with all the people demonstrating and vigiling and handing out leaflets all over the world, it has changed people's minds, especially here in LA. It's really important that we're out there in the streets trying to change people's minds. And there's nothing more gratifying than doing something like this, which the Palestinians will see. The Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, they get, I don't know how, but they get to see what we're doing in countries around the world. And it gives them hope. It gives them hope. So one of the things that we did, which was not in the street, is that we were involved in a major task of trying to get the Santa Monica City Council to pass a resolution to say that they were for stopping the war and giving humanitarian aid. And in fact, Teresa Bonpane is here, and she was instrumental in helping us get that resolution passed. And there are over 100 city councils around the country that have passed these resolutions. So getting out there is so important. I mean, I have a walker. I get out there anyway. I have another walker which has a seat, and so I go out there and sit and hold a sign and talk to people. It's really, really important. One last thing, you all know who Congressman Ted Lieu is, right? So one of the things we've been doing is going to his office and the office of other members of Congress and senators to say, why aren't you talking about Israel and what they're doing to the Palestinians? They totally ignore it, totally ignore it. Well, you know, I recently saw Ted Lieu speak to a big crowd of people, and what he talked about was domestic problems, obviously. You know, the cuts to Medicaid, the SNAP program, et cetera. But he won't talk about what is happening internationally. And he voted for the military budget every single year.
All right, so you're going to pass out those?
So
What I'd like to do, because there is a way for people to act today, is at 1 o'clock at the 3rd Street Promenade and Broadway. Every Sunday, our group is out there with signs. Charles has amazing signs. We use his signs. And please come, because you can act. And what we do when we're out on the promenade is we pass out these flyers, which basically say, call Senator Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff, our 2 U.S. senators. And thank you, Rick, for talking about the Democrats and their failure to take leadership. So we have to pressure them. So let's pass these around.
Yeah.
Rick, help me out.
You can You can pass them around, and you can, if you don't want to take a paper flyer, you just take a picture of it.
Yeah, and also today and every Sunday, 1 to 2:30 on the promenade. I'll pass these around. Thank you so much for letting us be here.
Thank you for being here.
And if anyone wants to get involved with...
Yeah, pass that around. Okay, we're going to go first to Zoom this time, and Jerry Rubin has a comment. Maybe somebody else can pass it, so you can listen to Jerry. Yeah. Rick. So come on up, Jerry.
Can you hear me?
Here, you can hold that.
Thanks.
And I'll pass that around.
Okay.
Can you all hear me?
Yes. We hear you. Go ahead.
You can pass these around.
Go ahead, Jerry. We hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I know this is a controversial issue, and I know that people have some different points of view. And let me first say I know Rick for years, and Teresa, and all the other activists. And I've been hoping for Israeli-Palestinian agreement for decades, a two-state solution. I still remember when a Jewish terrorist, a right-wing kind of a Jewish Defense League supporter in Israel, killed Prime Minister Rabin when we were on the verge of this agreement, but they yielded to that terrorism and broke off the agreement. Now, I know that there's millions of people in Israel that can't stand Netanyahu, but they love their country. Just like people here can't stand Trump, but love America. And I still feel we would be much, much better off if Kamala Harris were president rather than Donald Trump. Just like I feel that we would have been better off with Al Gore than George W. Bush. So we have to be somewhat shrewd given the reality of situations. We have to be smart enough to not vote for these MAGA Republicans. There was something the peace movement group put out, and I find it pretty good. 4 points. Gaza must be freed from Hamas. Israel must be freed from Netanyahu. Ukraine must be freed from Russia and Putin. And America must be freed of Trump. So all I can say is, yes, I understand it, but I can guarantee you things will get worse if we're not smart enough and shrewd enough to vote for what is going to keep these crazy Trump MAGA supporters out and Netanyahu supporters and Putin supporters out domestically and with foreign policy as well. It might take longer, but I think we have a better chance of getting there. There's no justification for what happened on October 7th, just like there was no justification for what happened at 9/11. You could say people were repressed, but to do what happened is unjustified. Hostage taking is unjustified, and it'll only get worse if we're not shrewd enough and smart enough to do the right thing.
You highlighted the reasons as to why the terror is happening. And I think sometimes a lot of people forget that no act of violence is random. People react out of pain, and I appreciate that you've highlighted that, so thank you.
Thank you. While they're the very large issues, what was illuminating to me, and I've been questioning, is what you talked about within the Democratic Party. Why the kind of unwavering, unquestioned support is there. And it's, so thank you for talking about that. I actually grew up in Dearborn, and during the election when the no voting that started and Kamala wouldn't go. I mean, I thought that's like a disaster. You are ignoring a huge base. And why? And maybe that's in all of this, the question of why a party or the Democratic Party cannot get rid of this kind of addiction to Zionism. So thank you for that.
Oh, I have so much to say. Oh, I have so much to say. But I'll limit it to a comment and a question, and then we'll talk later. First and foremost, I want to put a footnote to your mention of Ilan Pappé, because in the book group, after we read that, we read The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. The reason why I bring that up is this prolific black author more or less addressed what was going on consistent with apartheid in South Africa. More on the comment, I think what has happened, with all respect to the Jewish faith, a deeply spiritual exercise in faith, such as Judaism and Christianity, I think has been hijacked. Christianity has been hijacked so much so to the point that many of its proponents are saying, if Jesus were alive today, he'd be a Republican. That's just how serious that is. I guess my question now to you is, do you see the same kind of parallel, within Judaism to where it also aligns itself with a white nationalist base? Because there's evidence in the Bible that says that. That's my question.
Yes. Don't want to take people's time up too much, but if I may make one distinction that doesn't contradict at all what your question implies. There are more Jews in the United States, or approximately the same amount as are in Israel. Their political character are opposite. Now, yes, there is significant support for Israel amongst American Jews. On every other issue, they're progressive, the most progressive ethnic/religious group next to African Americans in the United States on every other issue. And on Israel, as I indicated earlier, there's huge dissent. It is a community completely split. Families are split. I cannot talk to my sister-in-law the way I can talk to my brother-in-law, who's here. Cannot discuss the matter very much. That's indicative of, when you say Judaism, when I worked for the Jewish Federation, there was one Sunday a year called Super Sunday where you were pretty much required to ask for funds, for donations, and they give you a list and a telephone. But they gave you an orientation first, and one of the things I learned in there, they said straight out, you have to remember when you're talking to these random people on the phone asking for money, that the majority of the Jewish population in this city does not belong to any Jewish organization at all, let alone religious. So there is a strong minority that are religious, and I will tell you this. I would hope that I would still be here this Sunday morning talking to y'all. But I'll tell you one place that I couldn't be talking, and that's any synagogue in the city of Los Angeles. Okay? So when you hear about, nobody says this out loud, but I know it's a meme. I know it's a very deep the smart Jews. Jews are smart, are they not? They're said to be smart. Well, how smart are we That's silliness, isn't it? Yeah, that's silliness, right. So having dispensed with the silliness, let's get to the seriousness, which is, it is pretty stupid to shut down conversations about serious subjects. And that's what the organized Jewish community does straight up and down. There is nobody that walks through the doors of the Jewish federations, which has umpteen groups under it, where I used to work, and says, this occupation's got to go. You do not say that, or what happened to me will happen to you, which is they kick you out for bringing up the subject. Synagogues, I don't care what Jewish federation organization you're talking about. Hillel, I met my wife working for Hillel. They wouldn't let me speak in there for all the tea in China. So we got a problem that goes deeper than the Democratic Party. We got a problem in this country about how we discuss things and the news media shaping false narratives. And one of the false narratives, Jerry, with all due respect, because you are an esteemed organizer, and I love you besides, and including because of that. You're a wonderful person. But let's not fall into this trap. It's the personality of Netanyahu, and it's the bad Hamas that are oppressing their own people. We're going to liberate them by dropping 100,000 tons of explosives on them. Come on, give me a break. You don't liberate people by murdering them. And right, Jerry, you said, I think, there's no justification for the massacre on October 7th. Right. There's never a justification for genocide, ever. Okay? And one more thing while we're at it. October 7th, the Israelis count 1,200 and change people who were killed. What they don't include is how many they killed on that day. And there were hundreds of Israelis who were murdered by the Israeli Defense Forces on October 7th, 2023, knowingly, on Kibbutz Be'eri, rocketed from helicopters. They literally buried the cars that they rocketed. So it's not so simple, but one thing that Dylan always had right, look out, kid, they keep it all hid.
Yeah, thank you. There's so much there, and the more you talk, the more scrambled my brain gets, because there's so many ideas that are coming through. And 8 days ago, we had a speaker here who talked about transformational love. And it's like, how do we get from here to there? And usually there's a lot of crucifixions along the way. And we've talked about some of them already. And we can see why people don't want to get too far out in front. But anytime you support marginalized groups, necessarily the power of the state comes against you. And so it's like we have two traumatized groups, an Israeli population and a Palestinian population. And one of the definitions of trauma is you use maladaptive behaviors. And these behaviors that they're exhibiting follow that path. And so, the only way I see making it down the road is exactly what people are doing in terms of going to the promenade and having conversation. Because, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Talking with Strangers, and it's how two people see things differently. And then what Valerie Kaur said is, no one's a stranger. Make everyone not your stranger. But we're so far away from that. And I'm just curious, is it easier for a Palestinian and a Jew, even a Zionist, to speak together in LA than over in Israel? Right?
Yes, it is easier because the Israelis don't want to hear from Palestinians. And although there are two groups who are traumatized, one of them has all the guns.
I'm curious on your opinion on this. In my opinion, there's nothing more anti-Semitic than a Christian Zionist, because they need the Jews to be in Israel for their end-time apocalypse to happen. And I'm just curious, would you agree with that statement, or do you think that they're not anti-Semitic, the Christian Zionists?
I agree with your statement.
Okay, we're going to have two over here and one online, and then we're going to be done. And if you are still wanting to talk, how about, one, and then 3 over here, and then 1 online, because we got to stop at some point. And then we can move the discussion to in there on top of the rug. How about that? So because it's, we all do want to talk.
Hi, thank you. I too, am get so overwhelmed by everything going on now, and then even the analysis, within our community and trying to follow the facts of what happens, and within that dissonance, I find some solace or some calm in just realizing that it's just empire. And the story hasn't changed that much. All the details are important. The numbers, the tonnage of explosives and where they're directed and everything. But it's empire acting as empire as it always has. It's still kingdoms that are uniting. It's still a kingdom sort of system with subjects and the very, very, 1% of the most powerful people who are killing everybody who doesn't fall in line. And it's still happening. So there's some simplicity also to what's taking place. And Chalmers Johnson, great political scientist from UC San Diego, he wrote a book called Blowback and a book called The Sorrows of Empire many years ago that were about what we call like the fall of empire. And we see it cracking, and I find hope in that. I hope that we can all come out on June 14th. I think that's one of the next great opportunities to protest and to bring Gaza in particular to the forefront of the conversation. June 14th, of course, is when Trump is going to have a big parade in his name for his birthday. And the ridiculous of that will be much like the emperor wears no clothes, I hope. And we can make it that way if we all really come out and focus on that. I also just want to say one thing from Phil Oakes. All around this country, trouble in the air, and I hear the voices calling me, asking, do you know and do you care? Do you know and do you care? Well, I'm gonna do what I have to do, say what I have to say, and I'm gonna be what I have to be. Now, won't you come on along with me? Won't you come along with me? Thank you.
Ended with you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. First of all, I apologize for yelling, but as the speaker said, the Jewish community is tortured. Whatever the Jewish community means, I don't even know what that means anymore. But I think many of us are tortured, particularly with this heuristic that you've brought up and the way you've brought up it in the Jewish community. So I apologize for losing my temper, but it's easy to slip into language that just makes the whole situation much more difficult, and especially with anti-Semitism now, regardless of the Zionism and the genocide that's taking place. And I think there is a genocide, but I think it's a collaborative genocide. I think it's a global genocide. But I think particularly in the region, it's collaborative. And it's the Arab countries, and it's, Iran. You can go down the list. So we can't, confront this, go down every detail you said or I think in that. But that's my basic feeling, is a great concern of the racism and anti-Semitism. Both these toxic issues are an unparalleled situation. And thank you for your song.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is being used as a false flag cover-up for, let me finish. What's the finish? The ongoing genocide is not, excuse me, I let you speak, let me speak. The ongoing genocide is being committed by the state of Israel we can argue. I don't mind arguing with you.
Okay, let's stop right here because
But it's being perpetrated by the state of Israel, not by anti-Semites. And there are no anti-Semites on the college campuses doing anything that you can prove.
I personally think that he was saying that there is anti-Semitism, and that is real. There's real anti-Semitism, and I think I'm sad because this is being seen as anti-Semitism, which isn't, and real anti-Semitism is happening, and it's being downplayed because of, I agree. So go ahead, you.
I think anti-Semitism is being trivialized. The reality of it is being ignored, and the fake part of it is being used and abused by the Zionists. My question has to do with, I was surprised, I admit, Rick, when you said that you can't speak in any synagogue in Los Angeles about this issue. So Charles and I talk a lot, and he thinks very deeply about persuasion, how to persuade people when we're on the promenade. And he's made some incredible signs, particularly that point to a distinction between Zionism and the state of Israel versus a 1,000-year-old religious tradition, whatever. And I was born with a Jewish background myself, but I'm not observant. So my thought is when we see people on the promenade and they see signs that are making a distinction or saying that there is a distinction between Zionism and Judaism, I just want to emphasize or get an emphasis from you or confirmation. Jews who go to synagogues, who see those signs, feel that they have to rip themselves, that we're trying to rip them away from their allegiance to Israel? Is that accurate?
I mean, I don't want to really speak for them, except in a past life, I was them. I was an ardent Zionist in my youth, even in my college days. When I thought I was working for peace, I was really working for peace under the aegis of a Jewish supremacist state. Let's have peace, as was referred to, by Jerry, which was a false project of splitting up the land. 7 million Palestinians, 7 million Jews, and you want to give the Palestinians 22% of the land and have it be landlocked Bantustan? No. Equality is the way forward. And that means Palestinian voices have to be heard, as well as Jewish dissenting voices have to be heard. That's the whole reason for Jewish Voice for Peace, and if not now, is to get that dissent out.
Oh, so much to reflect on here. I just wanted to put in a word for democracy now. I get all my news, almost. I mean, I look at the Times, but Democracy Now! Really puts a face on what we're talking about here today, every day. And I really recommend it. I just wanted to say that there's so much that hurts my heart in all of this. But our complicity as Americans in this is what hurts the most. And I've written a lot of letters. And I'm part of a organization I wanted to let you know about. I'm living in Portland, Oregon now. I'm just visiting. And but this was my church, and still is my church. I'm in two churches, but I'm a Unitarian also. And there's an organization within the Unitarian Church called Unitarian Universalists for Justice in the Middle East. And our group at my church in Portland has greatly grown recently, thank God. And we are organizing groups to go and speak to legislators. And because my legislator is really good on everything but Israel, you know? And we've got to change that. So thank you so much for your talk today.
One more over here.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'm up here in Oakland, and Rick, I just wanted to thank you so much. And I'm glad that I was able to find a way to tune in and be with y'all. And I look forward to meeting with you soon. Thank you so much. Okay.
I kind of agree with the congregation here in the past, but at the same time, I haven't. And I agree that we need peace there, but I have a couple problems about this war. First off, you were saying that there's not anti-Semitism because of this, but they just reported that anti-Semitic acts have gone up 950% since the first term of Trump.
Who reported that?
In the newspaper. And it's gone up 350% since the Gaza war. So this has been an excuse for committing anti-Semitic acts. I think Trump and this war has allowed anti-Jews to come out of the closet and give them a reason to start doing acts. My next quick point is I do go to a Jewish center every day, and we do argue about this there. There are some Jews who will support Israel no matter what, and there are people like me who want to have peace there, and we're arguing about this. My other quick point is after 1940, the Balfour Amendment came out, but there were almost no Jews who went to Israel. Some of the Jews who did go didn't like it and left. The only mass immigration happened after 1945. If we're going to blame anybody, we should blame the Germans for destroying all the Jews, and then they had no place else to go. And in 1947, when they had created the Jewish state, the UN, I have friends, Jewish friends who had been in Iraq and Iran, and they told me they'd been there 1,000 years. The Muslims treated them wonderfully. But as soon as Israel was formed, they had to leave because there was mass killings of Jews in Iraq and Iran. And they had to run. They couldn't run here. Our State Department hated Jews. As you know what happened during World War II, they weren't allowed to come here. And the State Department had tried to do horrible things to keep them from coming here. So they had very few places to go. And so Israel was the traditional place to go.
That's not why they went there. I'll just interrupt you for a second. Read Avi Schleim, who's an Israeli historian born in Baghdad. He's got a book out now that'll tell you what really happened, and what really happened was that the Zionists planted black flag actions to scare the Jews out of Arab countries. They were not expelled by the Arab countries. There's a lot more to that than what you're alluding to.
Well, I have friends who were there who was left, and they were telling me they were going around on the buses and on the streets and grabbing Jewish people and throwing them into jail. Anyway, my last quick point, and I've said this before, is that we've been talking and democracy now, like we were saying, every day there's this stuff about Israel, Israel, Israel. You yourself said, well, there's 50,000 dead. The UN has reported the worst catastrophes on earth right now is northern Ethiopia, 1 million children who may be dying. Right next door, we have the Sudan, where there's another 1 million people who are dying. And in the Congo, the 3 worst places are in Africa. I hate to say it, but one of the people here said to me, well, you know, that's Africa. You know, they're always fighting in Africa. So there's black babies, they don't count. We don't care about them.
So you want to change the subject? Is that what I hear?
No, and the Ukraine too, another 1 million people. Why
I think you want to
that?
change the subject. That's not the subject of this conversation.
Okay, let's go to online. I think there's one more online. I think it's Dr. Kim or Magpie.
So, hello. So the question that I have is that there have been...
Can you be louder?
Okay, I will be louder. So I'll move up a little closer to the mic. So I've heard, people say, well, I don't want to use the word genocide. Genocide is too loaded of a word. And I've actually heard that in some academic sessions that I've gone to. And, what kinds of things can we say to people when, and I'm not sure why they don't want to use that word, but that seems to be a word that people are not wanting to use. Now, obviously not this morning, but, what would you have to say to that, please? Just give me some good responses or a good response.
I think it's very embarrassing to be brought up in a milieu that valorizes a white colonial settler state with an apartheid system which is in the process of killing hundreds of thousands of people by Oxfam's estimation. It's very embarrassing to think that it was a democracy when it never was, and suddenly all of that is pushed in your face when you see the deliberate starvation of an entire population and the bombing of helpless people. That is uncomfortable. They'll do anything to avoid using the term that applies. It's genocide by also by the 3 American-Israeli experts, academic experts on genocide, also by the World Court, and so forth, and it's documented 16 ways from Tuesday. They don't want to look in the mirror, because what comes back is very, very damning.
All right, we want to say thank you to Rick. Say thank you, Rick.
Thank you all.
And we're going to have a moment of silence now, and then it's going to be broken with the song. And we're not done yet, guys. But go ahead. You can have a seat wherever you want. You don't have to be on the hot spot anymore. Have a moment of silence.
Shanti Salam Hewa. Sing it with us. Oh, Hachemin Terrace, near Shanti Salam Hewa. A little louder now. Oh, Hachemin Terrace, near Shanti Salam Hewa. Don't you wish love, only love, to save this world from disaster? Oh, love, only love can save this world from disaster. Don't you wish love could end the confusion? Or is it just one more illusion? shake my head and frown. Oh, our chanting terrace is Shanti Salam Ewa. If you want to hit the target square, it better not have blind anger. If you want to hit the target square, it better not have blind anger. Or it'll just be one more time. The correction creates another crime. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. I'd only be a musician. If music could only bring peace, I'd only be a musician. If songs could do more than all the pain, if melodies could only break these chains. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. We gotta build a new garden. We gotta get working on the building a decent home for all of God's children. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. Oh, Eve, go tell Adam the next time he asks you. Oh, Eve, go tell Adam the next time he asks you. He'll say, baby, it's cold outside. What's the password to come inside? You say, oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. 4,000 languages in this world means the same thing to every boy and girl. Oh, my Chairman Terrace, here's Shanti Salam Ewa. Shanti Salam Ewa.
Thanks, everybody.
Good morning. It's really great to see so many people here and to have a focused discussion, and yet sometimes it ranges more widely. There's a lot of thought and purpose and meaning in everyone's voice here. But I want to talk about something focused, because you have all choices of what you can do with your money, and they may all be good, but today I'd like you to think about the church, because to keep this space here to do these things, we need your support. And it's coming out of COVID. We're here, we're back, we're in place, but we're not quite whole yet. So anything you can do to support the church today is welcome, whether it's little coins in the bucket, or your money, or this little QR code will take you to a site where you can automatically donate, and it's very painless. You don't even have to open your wallet. So thank you very much.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Will never forget you, I will never forsake you. Will never forget you, I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you, I will never forsake you. Never forsake you, I will never forget you, I will never forsake you, I will never forget you, never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you, I will never forsake you. I will never forget you, I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you, I will never forsake you, I will never forget you, I will never forsake you.
Every Sunday we have somebody who signs up for bread and they speak from their heart and they give us bread. And so when the bread comes around, you can take a hunk. It's just bread to eat. We just share bread. And Linda Bond is doing bread.
So somebody else will take care of the challah, an outward and visible sign of an inner and spiritual reality. I'm Linda Bond, and I'm a member of the Church in Ocean Park and the International Communist Workers' Party. And as some of my friends and comrades say, that just tells you what kind of church this is. That you can be a combination or something else altogether, and I am both a Methodist and a communist, and been a communist for more than 50 years. So I want to speak from the heart about what gives me the hope to carry on. The question that Phil Oakes asked, right? People who have been in this church, some have heard me talk about my comrade Hamza in Gaza. And if people want to read some of his letters, I got, I'm a communist man, I got literature. And the fact, and I have talked about how, who am I to get discouraged if a communist in Gaza can have hope for a new world. And so I've read some of his letters. Since the bombing resumed in March, we have not heard from him. There are obviously two explanations for that. One is that the infrastructure has been destroyed. The other one, I believe, the other one is, I can't even say it, but it's the other obvious reason why we have not heard from Comrade Hamza. But who I've heard from a lot is my comrade Mickey in Tel Aviv, who's a Jewish comrade in Tel Aviv, who has been organizing for an alternative that myself, I think, is more logical than thinking that we can save the Democratic Party, actually, because the Democratic Party is based on empire, and empire and the logic of empire. We are seeing the logic of empire in Gaza. That's the center, actually. I think Gaza is the center of the world at this point. that we see all the contradictions of capitalism and empire and genocide. And my comrades in South Africa say that Gaza has made them understand what's happening all around the world, and if they can do it in Gaza, well, anyway. So, but what I want to say is that it ain't easy, right? I mean, Israel is not Athens, it's Sparta, right? And it's an armed and dangerous state to...
So was Athens. So was Athens.
Well, that is an excellent point, Jeff, and I'm really glad you pointed that out, because democracy is bullshit anyway, and I agree with that, and thank you. I love it when people, like, call me out.
I'm not calling you out.
No, dude, you called me out, and I love it. I actually love it, because you're right, of course. But let me go on, but thank you. I love it, actually. I love it when people raise stuff with me that I should have known better than to say. Right? That's true that. I should have known better than to say that. Thank you. Anyway, my point being, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mickey, because after October, I was going to say September 11th, whatever. After October 7th, he had been part of a group of Jews and Arabs in Tel Aviv who had been talking about community and started going out in the streets with signs that said "Peacefire Now." And more people actually are going out in the streets, Jews and Arabs together, with signs that say "Peacefire Now," ceasefire now. And some of them are going to jail behind that. It's just a simple sign, and having the cops rip those signs down. And that happened right away. And Mikey was like, but I know, that we need more than ceasefire now. I know that we need more than we don't need a two-state solution. We don't need a state at all. We need revolution. We need workers of the world unite. How in the world, in this situation, am I going to go out and say that? So, make a short long story slightly less long. He writes for Red Flag, and I do the layout for this, and we distribute it worldwide. And on May Day last year, in 2024, he wrote, I'm preparing for a May Day demonstration. I plan to take a few copies of Red Flag. This May Day, there will be a massive rally in Israel. More workers are fed up with brutal fascism that is killing our brothers and sisters across the border in Gaza, right? I called several friends during this time. Many people were very scared. I explained that this is the result of the intensifying contradiction of capitalism. This May Day, we should organize to support our working class in Gaza. So a year ago, he took a few papers out in the streets, just him, right? And then another comrade is starting to distribute communist papers to soldiers, but very carefully, right? And then another comrade is saying, well, I will soon be 49 years old. We are all in the time of a struggle to save lives, mostly Palestinian. My children are on the way to Taibeh to demonstrate against the war today. The longer the war drags on, the more likely it is that workers will be disillusioned with fascism. In September, Mikey writes, 6 comrades gathered in a Tel Aviv apartment the night before Israel would witness the largest demonstration in history. They said that they got what they got from letters from the pamphlet, which I have, from Comrade Kamsa in Gaza, is that he sees tremendous hope in many Israeli workers' desire to fight Zionism. And there's more, but I can give you the link if you want to read them all. In January, Comrades in Gaza and Tel Aviv are sowing the seeds of unity among Palestinians and Israelis. They spread red flag and fight for communism in the streets. There are massive demonstrations against this genocide every day throughout Israel. In March, Mikey writes, the masses in Israel are disgusted, horrified, and ready to do anything to change the system. The Zionist police are no match for the anger of the masses. We are openly distributing red flag. Comrades meet in a small apartment in Tel Aviv. Meetings that used to have 6 to 8 comrades, like 6 months previously, right? Now the room is full of people. We have 3 safe houses where we meet, where we are able to operate in Tel Aviv. He says, demonstration after, in April, he says, we went to, ICWP friends go to mass demonstrations where there is mass anger against Bibi and for the return of hostages, and we talk about class anger against capitalism and a fight for communism. Many copies of Red Flag, our newspaper, were distributed. We learned from past experience that it's difficult to distribute papers during street battles. So we started giving out hundreds of small cards with ICWP QR codes. People put them in their pockets. The question is, can we mobilize the masses for communism by waging an armed struggle of Israeli, Palestinian, and Arab soldiers? And this year on May Day, they had 20 comrades, Arabs and Jews, marching in the streets in Tel Aviv for the only thing that destroys empire, which is communist revolution, in my opinion. And that's my speaking from the heart. If people want
Thank you. Let's give her a hand.
I got that.
Yes, a Red Flag. Where are those going to be? Where are you going to keep those?
These are for everybody, and I'll put them over on the table.
Yeah,
so people can
they'll be over on the table. Thank you. We have announcements this morning. If you have an announcement, we're just going to do them real quickly because it's kind of time gotten away with us. So we have a queer prom for high school students is on the 7th, on the 8th. Queer Collective, I guess that's it's a weekend theme. We're going to meet at Lula's at 12:30, and then go to where, Horlijam? We're going to go to the African American History Museum, right? Yeah. Administrative board, 15 minutes after church in that room. And I think we're going to leave it at that unless somebody has a burning announcement.
Every Sunday, 1 to 2:30, we demonstrate at the 3rd Street Promenade. And Broadway. 3rd Street and Broadway.
Okay, let's please join me in a closing circle. And, oh, wait a minute. Somebody's going to do the...
Well, we have a guest singer to help us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I almost forgot.
And this girl really knows how to use a mic, so.
Let's make a circle. Make a circle. Let's make a circle. Make a circle. Let's make a circle. Make a circle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can you guys make the circle from here?
Izzy, you're so good.
It's okay, we can make a circle from here.
Come over here. In a circle.
You just make a bigger one that way. Yeah.
That's all right. It's all right. I'm outside of it. It's okay. I know.
All right. This is a circle for joys and concerns, or birthdays or anniversaries. Anybody have a joy or concern?
Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Never turning back.
reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. We're gonna reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Never turning back. Never turning back. Now we're gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. No, we're never never turning back.
All right, so before we go, I just want to remind you that now that you've been here, you are a part of us, and we do this every week as well. It's a different subject every week, and you never know unless you read your weekly newsletter. Then you have a hint. At any rate, we're going to say together, carry on. I'm going to count to 3, and we raise our hands up, and we unmute if we're on Zoom, because we pay all together. We're going to say carry on. 1, 2, 3. Carry on!
Carry on!
Thank you all.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Woo! Thanks, Nate. Bye, Mom.
Hi, Joy.
Bye, Kim.
You can't. That's so great. That's amazing how you handle that.